I love that term open, because it's like, it's an open conversation about whatever. And we're just like, well, what if we did close it up, and became monogamous again? So we're just constantly having these conversations. But like, I think I consider myself poly now, because I learned so much from it, and I'm still learning so much from it, that it's just so beneficial. And even if we decide to not see other people, like, I think I'm always going to consider myself poly, because I want to always be able to have the conversation.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Hey, Finn.
Yes, Emma.
Guess what?
We're almost episode 300.
Almost. We're so close.
We're closer than we've ever been to episode 300.
Actually, we're at episode 200 today, and I'm super excited. So welcome, everyone, to episode 200. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a beautiful interview with Kacie and Marcus.
Yeah, this is an incredible interview, and we're really excited about it. Before we tell you a little bit about it, we wanted to say just a gigantic thank you to anyone and everyone who has helped us get to 200 episodes. So we've had obviously close to 200 different people come on the show. Actually, more than that, because
I was close to.
Many of them are couples. Some of them have come back a few times, and It's just been thruples.
Yeah,
quads.
We've had way more than 200 people.
Like 1,000.
I don't know.
Maybe not quite 1,000.
I don't know. We'll have to count it up.
So thank you to anyone who's come on the show to share your story. Thank you to anyone who's ever sent us an email, reached out, told us you love the show, told us that we've helped you. Like, all of those things are huge for us, and it drives us every day. So thank you to all of you who have done that.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate every single one of you who has supported us in any way.
Yeah, and thank you to our amazing Patreon community for helping support the show financially, giving us the opportunity to basically make this our full-time job. And we've been loving doing that. And we're grateful that we get to do this, and we get to build this community and put this out there. So thank you to all of you who have joined us, who have supported us. And also, please, not to discount anybody who hasn't come on the show or joined Patreon. We have a ton of friends who have supported us in doing this without, being able to come on and share. So thank you to all of you who are listening and have supported us for the last almost 3.5 years.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at when I say in all the ways.
I know. But some of us like to talk a little extra.
Just a little bit.
And I didn't mean to cut you off. I knew you were just about to jump in and start saying that. Right?
I mean, just like people come on the shows, people who have emailed us, just people who have downloaded and listened or shared, spread the word. Like, that's huge too. So if you just tell a friend, hey, I've listened to this podcast, it was super awesome. That's super helpful too.
Yeah, and one more shout out to any other of the podcasters, bloggers, content creators who have had us on their show, who have come on our show, who have, again, helped spread the words to their community. Collaborating with other people doing work in the space is absolutely one of our favorite parts of doing this. So thank you to all of you for the work you do and for helping us spread the work we do.
Yes. So there we go. We made it, episode 200.
And now we get to start the countdown
to episode 300.
For episode 300.
Yay!
So a bit more about Kacie and Marcus.
Yes. They have been married 8 years, and they've been poly for 3. This interview is amazing. They're super vulnerable, and it's a little emotional too. So we just thank them very much for coming on the show and sharing everything that they did.
And when Emma says a little emotional,
that's a lot.
It's a very emotional, it's a very powerful episode. And with that, there are a few disclaimers that I wanted to throw in here at the beginning, or that we wanted to throw in here at the beginning. So the first one is that we started recording early, and there was a little bit of banter that we left in with their permission. So That's important. It was fun.
It was fun.
The second is that we left in a lot of the pauses because this is an emotional episode. So a lot of times I'll go through and take out long pauses. I didn't do that in this one. I left it pretty much as is. And Kacie and Marcus have both listened to this. It was sent to them ahead of time, and they gave us the green light to publish it as it is. And so we are not violating any requests on their behalf. So those are some important things that we needed to say before you get into this episode, because it is, we picked it for 200 for a reason.
Yes.
It's amazing, and we're so grateful that they came on and shared. So thank you, Kacie and Marcus, for sharing with us and for putting this amazing content out in the world.
Yeah, we're so grateful. Before we jump into their interview, though, we do have a couple of quick and exciting announcements. First off, a huge thank you to our Patreon community. As always, we're so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you to support the show in the ways that you do. And if you're looking for community and you're looking for people to support you and just say hi and just interact
be
with,
there for you.
Yeah, I should
have
say
an open
that's
mind.
Community in general, because that's I was trying to explain what community
we'll
is.
We'll read the definition of community.
Oh boy. Anyway, if you're looking for community in any and all of the ways, we would highly encourage you to check out our Patreon community. It's only a couple dollars a month, and there's just it's a fantastic group of people. If you want more information, go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, and click on the Patreon button. Also there you'll find dates for the October men's group call, women's group call, and our monthly Q&As.
Yeah, and if maybe Patreon's not your thing, we have some really exciting meet and greets coming up. So we have a virtual meet and greet. We've been doing these for about a year. We took the summer off, but we're back. So that is going to be September 22nd from 9 to 11. Again, that's virtual.
Yes.
So
that's tonight.
That's tonight. When I said September 22nd, that's tonight. Still time to sign up.
And if you happen to miss tonight, don't worry. We will have another virtual meet and greet next month. But you know what? You should just come join tonight anyway.
Yes. And next week, on September 28th, we have an actual in-person meet and greet at a park in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's from 6 to 9. On October 13th, we have an awesome space at a big outdoor brewery in Atlanta, Georgia. That's going to be from 7 to 9 p.m. And on October 27th, we finally got a space in Florida, in St. Petersburg, from 6:30 to 9 at an awesome, amazing LGBTQ plus owned bar and grill.
Yes.
With outdoor patio space. We're super thrilled. If you want more information on how we're handling COVID, how we're handling these events, and all of the ways to sign up, again, head over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the community events tab, and you will find ways to get to the virtual meet and greets and all the in-person meet and greets and all the Patreon information.
It's all right there.
And reach out to us.
As I say, also on our website, the contact us button. Send us a voicemail, send us an email. We would love to hear from you. If you want to come on and share your story, we'd love to hear from you. Or if you just want to say hi or have a question for us, we'd also love to hear from you.
And with that, we'll jump into the episode, but we did want to say thank you for listening to this slightly longer than normal intro. We thought it was really important to thank everybody who's helped us get 200 episodes into this.
Woohoo!
And so again, thank you for listening, and thank you to everybody who's helped us get here, including you as a listener.
And now let's go talk to Kacie and Marcus. And there's no need to be nervous.
Yeah,
nervous.
Yeah, a little nervous.
Yeah. This is all it's recorded. Nothing is live. It's just talking to us. So you're good.
It's just a first date.
It's just a first date.
Yeah,
you say
those
that,
are nerve-wracking.
Right.
Yeah. It's just a first date with huge podcast celebrities.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
What is the term, like LMNO, whatever, like celebrities?
Z-list?
Like the Z-list
Z-list.
celebrities, like not the A-list celebrities.
Wow.
I'm like super into podcasts, so podcast people are A-list to me, you know.
Oh,
yeah.
well, thank you.
We'll take it. And
We'll take it.
And we're leaving this in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So welcome to the show, Kacie and Marcus.
Thank you very much for having
Yes.
us.
We're so excited that you're here.
Yeah, thank you for being here, reaching out. We're excited to hear more about you two, hear about your story. So do you mind introducing yourselves? Because, I mean, it's a first date. That's what we do.
It is a first date. So I'm Kacie.
And I'm Marcus, and I don't know. We've been married 8 years.
Around, yeah.
And Polly for 3.
About the last 3. So, yeah, we didn't really have we never talked poly. This never came up before in our marriage, before we decided to do it, which is kind of interesting that it was never discussed. It was always a monogamous marriage. And I ended up meeting a guy at my work and being very attracted to him. And I was taken aback by that because ever since I was with Marcus, I only had eyes for Marcus. So to meet somebody that I worked with that I actually had a strong attraction to scared me. And so but that was what started a conversation between the both of us about opening up the marriage. And I remember the night perfectly. We were hanging out. I was 3 glasses of wine in, and I remember just sitting there, and I looked over, and I think he had a glass of wine, and I remember just looking over at him going, I have this crush at work, and I don't know what to do about it. And he took it so well, and it started the discussion. And so I had told him about the guy, and you can say, Yeah.
So like I said, I'm super into podcasts. So, I work, in my line of work, I drive a lot. So it just, I've always loved, using that time to like listen to audiobooks and, podcasts. And, for whatever reason, I was listening to the Aubrey Marcus podcast, and I know you guys interviewed Whitney Miller, and they were, it was like it was around that time when you interviewed her, where they were like super public about their poly relationship, and they were just like putting it out there, and it was like during those podcasts where they were just, sharing their story. So I just, at that time, like when Kacie came up to me, it was like right around that time. And I just happened to be listening to those podcasts and listening to Sex at Dawn, like for whatever reason, like in that same week when I started listening to these things, she came up to me and said, I'm kind of crushing on this guy at work. And I was like, oh, wow, that's so interesting, because I'm listening to all these things about like open relationships. And so it just kind of fell into place at the right time. So I was like super receptive to it.
Yeah, and, that could have gone really bad.
Because
really
we're completely regular monogamous, typical, just kind of indoctrinated into like this, what everybody else is, like the typical poly story, like that. This is like the default way of thinking. They just, we fell into that, and me just listening to those things, like I was like, oh yeah, that sounds super interesting, and yeah, that makes way more sense,
But of course, so he was receptive. We started a conversation, but I didn't have the research that he had done. So I hadn't listened to podcasts. I hadn't read books. I literally was just so attracted to this man that when Marcus gave the okay, slowly he said, okay, I think, I'm okay with you going on a date with him. The NRE, just the new relationship energy just flew out the window, and I took it and ran. And I think that's
so we went from like not even thinking that was a possibility to like full on poly in like a week.
It was that fast?
Oh, it was
like
fast.
Just green light. Okay, let's go.
The guy, he was very weirded out by it and didn't understand it. And so that's another, you hear poly people talking about don't bring a monogamous person. And that's exactly what I did. And so he was very like, hesitant, but yet attracted to me. So he wanted to do it too. And I didn't know what I was doing, and he didn't know what he was doing. And so, yeah, I mean, it was fast. It was like within a week I was on my first date with him.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So I'm curious, like, Marcus, just because you're listening to Sex at Dawn and the Aubrey Marcus podcast, and like, that doesn't necessarily mean that like you're just open to the idea, but it sounds like you were. And I think that's really interesting, because like you could listen to those books and be like, hell no, like that's never going to happen. But it sounds like there was something in you that was like a little bit on board with it at the same time.
I've always just been super open-minded. Like I always want to be growing and learning. And because that book was kind of scientific and was going more into like evolution, and so it was like easier to swallow. Like, yeah, we've evolved in tribes, and like in most tribal, or like in a lot of the tribal societies, that was like way more common. So I don't know, just the way it was laid out. It was laid out in a way that, like, I don't know, I was pretty receptive to. But yeah, I've just always been like open-minded, and I try not to like cement myself to one way of thinking. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, and I don't know, I guess.
But that came later because you grew up strict.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic, and just with all the, guilt and all that stuff. But like, I've always just questioned even like the religious part of it. Like, I consider myself agnostic now. So, I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I've kind of lost my train of thought.
No, but I think it's amazing, but also like the leap from like, I listen to these books and I'm open-minded to like a week later, like, sure, Kacie, go ahead on a date with this guy you have a huge crush on with at work. Like, that's a huge leap.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was like another layer that we didn't really talk about, but so we'd been trying to have a baby for like a really long time, and we just we were just in that place in our lives. So then we just chose to move forward with adoption because conceiving naturally wasn't working out. So we're just like, well, I've always wanted to adopt. So let's go that route, and then we'll see, about conceiving later. So right around that time, we were getting ready to go, like our son was getting ready to be born. So like this all happened at the kind of same time.
So it's a busy time. That's a lot. There's a lot of emotions.
A lot of emotion. So it's, all that, like preparing to...
I would say it was less about that than it was that we went through a really terrible loss like a couple months before that in our journey to becoming parents. And so I think when I met the guy at work, it made me feel alive again because that loss was so devastating. So I think that was part of it. I think that's why I dove so quick into it, was to not think about everything else that had happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. And thank you for sharing that. That's so hard.
I appreciate you sharing the context, because it kind of paints this picture of why you kind of jumped headfirst into this, because it was an outlet in a way.
Yeah, it was a little harder for me to understand. I mean, the loss was big, and we were kind of grieving that, but then like also the adoption was coming, and my mind was just going towards that and trying to like focus on that. And so I didn't catch that like deep into NRE, because she just dove like deep into it. And so then like a little bit later, it caught me off guard where I'm home, with a newborn, like getting up in the middle of the night and her wanting to go out, And that caught me off guard, which I guess if I would have been a little more in tune, I would have kind of seen it coming. Just noticing that how deep she was in an RE, and I didn't notice until like, oh my God, we got a newborn, and I'm having to stay home and you know, be there like most of the time, like.
Yes, this isn't making me look very good, but this is so complicated. So it was a interesting time to start this journey, and I mean, looking back, I can't believe how it got started or how it went down that way. But there is a lot of regret I was just so numbing myself at that time, and just he had given me that opportunity to do it, and I did it, and there was a lot of irresponsibility to it, and we didn't create boundaries. That's a huge part. I mean, you open up your marriage, you have to have boundaries, and we didn't have any, and I wasn't putting any. I went so fast into it that I couldn't even see anything else, and obviously I was I was a part of my son. I mean, I am a part of my son's life, and but I also, there was a lot of emotions. I
don't think anybody, Kacie, I don't think anybody's here thinking you're a terrible mom. No. You're fine.
No. It's just all these things, right? When you don't set boundaries, like, then it leaves all this room for like mistakes to be made, you know? And we like just jumped into it with like very little research. So, we kind of didn't know. We kind of didn't know like what we would be okay with. And you know, I've always, like, my personality, I always choose the hardest possible way to do something. And then that's the way I want to do it, whatever it is. If it's like carving a pumpkin or a marriage, you know, it's like the hardest way is the way I want to do it. So, you know, because all this kind of made sense to me, and I was like, okay. And what usually my personality also, if like I commit, then I'm like full bore. I'm very like on or off. There's no like kind of in between. So I was like, well, we're on and this is happening. So we're doing this, and like I need to do all the things I need to like keep this thing going, and like work on the marriage while still dealing with all these like new feelings. And I was just,
he was dealing with it, and I was not dealing with my feelings about, I think, still the loss, and then all of a sudden overnight becoming a mother, and then having this, you know, other person in my, like, there was just so much. I mean, we did end up having to do some therapy over it, because, or I started therapy on my own, because I felt like I needed to, in order to continue with an open marriage, I needed to deal with that, you know, the stuff from the past. So, Yeah.
And I just want to say, sorry, Emma, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just like, thank you for the vulnerability on that. And I would hope that there's nobody out there thinking you're a horrible mother who's not a part of your kid's life. Like, these are all things that first of all, you've never adopted a kid, you've never been a mom, and you've never opened your marriage. And so you're at the same time trying to do a whole lot of really huge life-changing things. And that's each one of those by themselves is nearly impossible. And if you stack them all, you have a huge mountain to climb. And I just want to offer one other thing is, like, we've had our guests come on the show twice now, Chloe and Drew. I want to say something like episode 86 and somewhere in like the 120s.
We'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah, but they're they got into non-monogamy after they lost a child, and like she struggled with some infidelity and cheating on Drew, and there was a lot of things happening. And so like same with Felice and Bill, she lost her dad and cheated on Bill, and like we've heard this type of thing. And so the fact that you two were able to like navigate this together and it wasn't perfect and you're still together, like I think that's a success.
Right. And I think it's like, from listening to both of you, it sounds like part of it too is somewhat your personalities. Like Marcus, you were saying, like, you want to go into things and just go hardcore and like just do it. Like, I'm going to choose the hardest way to do it, and it's going to just be that. But then like you're also emotionally, you just dealt with this loss, and then you're trying to adopt a child, which is a huge undertaking in itself. And like there's no blame for how that time was handled. The fact is that it happened, and you can look back and like you saw, Kacie, you said you got some help for therapy. Like, I need to deal with some of this stuff. And the fact that you got there and were willing to do that is huge too. So thank you again, like just for sharing that journey, because it's real life. And that is, it's important that like those stories get told too. So because it's not, the point of our whole show is to hopefully show that like that it's all real life. It's not the sugar-coated version.
Yeah.
Right. And people end up in these in the situations so differently, you know. And so thank you for saying that. I appreciate it, because it is a big part of the story. And So we have continued, we're 3 years in. So so that part we passed, and then you went on a couple dates.
Yeah, it's been kind of hard for me. I mean, just because like, going through all that, and then essentially as soon as we kind of like saw the light at the end of the tunnel, coming out of like the NRE and stuff, like the pandemic happened. So then we're just at home, so it's like, I was like starting to try to build a community, because I did feel very alone. I did try to like focus while she was deep in the NRE. I did try to focus a lot on our son. And so like all my time and energy was kind of spent on that. And so like, I'd get on the apps, but the apps are just terrible. And it's so hard to connect. And then like, I couldn't really be consistent talking to people, just because, there was a kid that needed a lot of my attention. And like, so then after the pandemic, I'm starting to like build community again and starting to talk to people. And it's like, for whatever reason, maybe because of like coming out of the pandemic, people are like starved to connect. It's been people have been a lot more receptive, and seems like real, So, I mean, there's like no.
Well, we started going to meetup groups right before the pandemic, and that
helped. Yeah,
Marcus had gone to more, because obviously when you have a child, one has to stay home, and the other. And of course, I encouraged that because I wanted him to have experience. There is truth to, if your partner's not having fun or experiencing what you're experiencing, it really isn't that fun, or it causes more issues in the open. So to encourage your partner, to get to a place where you can encourage your partner to get out there and to meet people, and it is good. And so he was going to meetups, and then we went to one together and met some really nice people. And that was like, I think 2 weeks before the shutdown. And so, he was just starting to meet people in person, and the pandemic happened. So. So
I'm curious though, like when you had the conversation, Kacie, when you told him, like, I imagine your thought wasn't like, I'm going to tell him I have a crush at work and hopefully we move to an open marriage. So in a week you've told him, he said, yeah, that's cool. Let's try it. And now also you're facing him wanting to possibly see other people. That wasn't really part of your initial thought process when you had this crush. I'm imagining that wasn't part of what you considered.
No, I was really scared because I remember so he said okay, and then I remember he created an Instagram account, and
I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, something. What? Like,
and there was like, he had taken a photo with his shirt off, and I remember seeing it and just freaking out, going, "What is happening? What are we doing?" And I was scared and jealous and it was just an Instagram photo.
And I was like, I've heard of Finstas. Like, maybe I can like DM people. How do you do this thing? You know, I'm just like,
yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. And I think that was our first like fight because my reaction was just so not.
And you've always been a lot more of a jealous person. Like I've never really had that. Yeah. I've never been super jealous. But yeah, you've been. I was surprised that you gave the go ahead because of how jealous before in our monogamous part of our marriage, you were very jealous. And I remember you getting like super angry, like randomly me looking over when we were driving at a girl or something and just like you getting super angry about it, you know.
Okay, well, I don't remember that, but it could have happened. I can't say either way. I think that stems a lot from, I mean, there's so much work you have to do, and not you have to, but there's so much work I've tried to do on myself to because I do think some of these behaviors stem from how we grew up and the dynamic in our family and how much love were you shown. And I mean, I think there's just so much
there's so much
to it that I always didn't feel like enough growing up. So then like that feeling of if he's looking at somebody else just kind of triggers that, am I not enough for you? And would come out, you know, in obvious jealous ways. But I remember that first experience. And then he ended up a couple months later going on his first date. And I think I was calling his phone by like 11 p.m. trying to see when he was, or texting. I didn't call. But he later said, I was in the middle of a makeout session and you're you're texting my phone. And the poor woman, and he's checking his phone and here's, you know, his wife like, when are you coming out? And they never went out again. I feel really bad, but that was the long night. And I definitely I had strong, it brings up such anxiety. My stomach I was sick to my stomach, anxiety about him being with somebody else. Absolutely.
There's so much growth that needs to go on. Like, I mean, and we were recently talking because like, I love that term open because it's like, it's an open conversation about whatever. And we're just like, well, what if we did close it up, you know, and became monogamous again? So we're just constantly having these conversations. But like, I think I consider myself poly now because I learned so much from it and I'm still learning so much from it that it's just so beneficial. And even if we decide to not see other people, like, I think I'm always going to consider myself poly because I want to always be able to have the conversation and there's just a lot there's so much growing to do there. There's so much like checking your ego and why are you getting angry and why are you getting jealous and like, you know, and then you can like dive into that and grow so much from that. And then there's also a lot of like mindfulness, you know, like sitting in like emotions and processing them and like not even having to do anything, but just like sit in them is like really beneficial.
Right. But to that first date, I mean, I thought about stopping it after that. 'Cause I thought, can I handle this? can I handle, because it had just been on my end up into that point. So then when he got a date, it hit me like, okay, like, and I can't say no, and I don't want to say no, but I want to say no. And and then he went out on a couple more dates, and same thing, anxious, nervous. I mean, same feeling every time. I think finally, after this much time of 3 years of doing it, I've gotten to a place where I still, I get nervous, but I'm more excited for him. So I have grown in that sense of, and to be honest, I use it as a turn on a little bit. So when he comes home and he lets me ask questions if I want to know something, but there is a little bit of a turn on for me if he's out with somebody else now, which is a total flip of what I thought before. So
that was one little kind of rule that we did put, like, I always sometimes I'm not ready to hear something. So like from the beginning, I'm like, if I want to know something, I'll ask it. Otherwise, please don't share, because I might not be ready to hear. Like, you're free to kind of do what you want, but I might not be ready to hear it. So wait for me to ask. So then that was kind of a boundary that was established early. And then I think she kind of adopted that, where like, I'll kind of wait for her to ask. And then that seems to help.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. And I think what I was curious about was, on your end, Kacie, how did you go from super jealous to making it a bit of a turn on? Like, that's a big journey in and of itself. Yeah,
I finally started reading books and listening to podcasts. I also think I just became, I don't know. I mean, I think I just became more comfortable and more secure with the marriage to let myself be happy for him. I don't know. I think just educating myself from the very beginning how bad it was, and also I've met some people on the apps who are a little kinky, and I think that opened my mind to the kinky part of being open and being sexual with other people. And then it kind of changed my mind on, this could be used as a turn on. So, but I still am very in control of that. And I only ask when I can handle it and when I'm ready for it. But,
it's a constantly evolving thing. I mean,
but I want to know everything. Like, I am so different that I want to know everything. Tell me everything. Like, I have a hard time. Like, I mean,
I'm not. I'm just like, okay, like, you went out, did you have fun? Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
What'd you do? Like, how did it happen? What happened first? Oh gosh, like,
Kacie, I can relate to you. I'm that same way.
Yeah, it's. I just have to know. I just have to know.
Yeah, for me, like, I don't know that about like evolving and stuff. Like, for whatever reason, when we got into it, I was like, I didn't like the term swingers, and I was like, ooh, those are those people that just like do it with everybody, And I was like, oh, like, we're not that. Like, we're poly, and I understand like loving other people, but like, sex, like, that's like that seemed like dirtier to me or something. But like, just like being in it now, and like, that seems way more attractive now, like that swingers lifestyle of just like, why not? Like, sex is fun. Why not have it with multiple people and just have it be this fun thing, not this, like, it doesn't always have to mean that much, or, you know what I mean? So like, it's just evolving in like your perspective on things. And like, I know the term vanilla is not very, like, I don't know. some people don't like. I consider myself vanilla, so I can say vanilla.
I can tell you right now, he's not vanilla.
But oh god, I forgot I was going with this. I'm sorry.
Well, maybe really quick, like not to interrupt you, but like what does your dynamic sort of look like today? Because I was gonna comment on the point that like you didn't just jump into this like, well, yeah, maybe just go and fool around with the guy from work. You're like, no, go for the relationship, like right out of the gate, and that's a totally different ball of wax. So like maybe how has it evolved up until now? And I still have some questions about the guy from work, but I will refrain at the moment.
Oh, okay. So now we are both not. We're both not consistently seeing other. We're on the apps, and I recently, unfortunately, just got really hurt by somebody that I thought we had a really good connection. And at the time that I met him, not to do a spoiler alert, but the guy from work and I were breaking up. And so there was a lot of emotion there for me, but I was meeting this really awesome poly guy at the same time. And so he was going to come see me and wasn't able to the day there was a issue with his transportation. So he didn't end up coming. And I just, the emotional reaction I had was really unexpected. And I think it had a lot to do with the emotions I was dealing with the breakup and then really wanting to see this person. So my reaction scared him. And he thought it was just, I was like, because we went kind of fast into it I just go fast, apparently, because this person I went really fast. We hadn't met in person yet, but we talked every day. And I mean, it was a good vibe. Marcus had also had met him video, and it was just seemed really healthy, and just we were all on the same page. Anyway, so that my reaction to that, him not coming that day, scared him off, and it's still a confusing relationship that he wanted to slow things down, and the rejection part of poly is something, or just it's something I really struggle with. I have a really hard time with, just the ghosting or the not, back to like me not feeling enough. And so you could say, I could be in a monogamous marriage and not have that, or as much, obviously have the security, but I'm putting myself out there to date all these other people. And it's hard for me. It's hard when a rejection comes up.
You have trouble letting go.
I have trouble letting go. Yeah. Yeah. And so, oddly enough, he out of the blue texted today before, and I'm telling Marcus, what does he want? I was just getting over him, and so it's just a constant ball of emotions. And then our dynamic. So we just been meeting people.
Yeah, right now we're just in the stage of meeting people, but are open to more casual hookups.
Yeah.
Still open to like poly relationships if they come. Like I like connecting with people, so to me that sounds more attractive. But like hookups sound fun too, So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we just had a fun night last weekend. We had a male guest over, and that was fun.
Our first time.
So, I mean, we're doing, I feel like right now it's just more casual.
Yeah. Yeah. And that might there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's what works for right now. So enjoy that process. And I guess I know you said you had some questions about work guy.
No, that's mainly my one is like, are you still together? And it sounds like no.
So we went through like a bit of a breakup, but to be honest, I have trouble letting go. We still talk every day.
Yeah.
And that's like, for me, like, I've always felt like, oh, maybe he's still doesn't consider himself open or poly. Mm-hmm. and like just little things. I'm like, gosh, like they've had a couple breakups, and I'm like,
Marcus does not, he doesn't like him. And that's also a big issue, with opening your marriage. And if your partner doesn't like the person you're with, I going forward, I told him, I was like, I don't want that it made things just so like I would want him to be able to come over, or, just, I guess I had this fantasy world of like open and like poly and having these other people really integrate into our lives. And when it came about that he ended up not liking him for valid reasons, it just, I think that added another layer to it not working out as well. Mm-hmm. Because I'd feel so guilty going out with him, and leaving the house and going out with him, knowing that Marcus didn't like him. So we still talk. We're more friends now than anything. And he's no longer, we don't work together anymore, which is good. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that piece out of it too.
Yeah, so I don't want to ever I learned so much from that whole situation, and I never, ever want to get back into something like that. Now I'm very open with the people I meet. I am open, I'm poly, this is how it is. There's going to be other people, like meet my husband. And
yeah, I mean, I could see us doing like a kitchen table situation. But like, I'm big on trust, and like, if I don't trust, it's not even that I don't like him. It's just that I don't trust him. Like, there was trust that was broken on both sides, on Kacie's side and on his side. So once you break my trust, it's very hard for you to get it back, and so then I'm going to treat you accordingly.
Yeah, kind of going, sorry to go backwards, but yeah, there was huge trust issues. I mean, and that was completely my fault, because the guy and I stopped using condoms, and I didn't tell Marcus. So, and I still don't have really a good enough, there's no good enough reason. But that almost broke up the marriage, bro.
Yeah, that was big. Like one of my main things is like, be honest. Like, I can handle just about everything else, but like, if you lie to me, that's huge. And like, I didn't know if I could be with someone that I couldn't trust. And that was really hard. That really tested our marriage.
Yeah. Because it's like you're in the moment, and I made that decision in the moment not to use it, and then so it's like you have this poly mindset, but not doing the work of like having to tell your partner everything. So it's like, yeah, I'm having the fun part, but I wasn't doing the hard part of it. And right. So when it came out that we weren't, it was a big deal. So.
And then him too, like he was.
Well,
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, he. Well, we'll be vague. He was also, he lied about seeing another person and didn't tell me. So
yeah, I'm just like.
So there's been trust issues.
Yeah.
There's been trust issues. We'll just wrap it up to that. We don't need to go into detail, but there's been trust issues. And
right. So as long as like the trust is there, I'm absolutely up for like a kitchen table poly situation, but like, I want to be able to trust them, and like.
Well, and now going forward, now I'm very, with Marcus, it's like, this is who I'm talking to. This is what we're saying. Or, like I'm overly now. I'm just like, I want to tell him everything, who texted, like just because of all the mistakes I made and everything in the past. I just don't want to, I just want to have him trust me again. And be a part of it. And I want to feel more unified in doing this. And so I'm just tell him everything, is, even if it's a hard thing to say, I just do it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This actually leads into a question I had is, how have you seen each other grow over the last 3 years? And I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but that was a perfect example.
Yeah, go ahead.
God. I mean, for me, it's like been mostly the checking my ego and like being and doing the mindfulness thing where
are you asking how we see each other?
I'm sorry.
Both.
Sorry,
how about both?
Yeah, no. So for me, I'm just way more mindful. Like when I'm with my son, I appreciate being with him so much more, and I try to like be there in that moment way more, just because when I go out, then like I'm not with him, so that just makes me want to be there in the moment with him when I am there with him. That was kind of confusing.
I think seeing how the example of being more mindful about just and intentional about your time. That's a perfect example.
Exactly. So with Kacie, like one of the things I've always really admired about her is her strength. Like she deals with like anxiety and she deals with like some depression, and just her like dealing with all these emotions and being able to get through them and work on them and grow. And how, in whatever capacity, little steps that then lead to bigger steps. But just constantly seeing her strength and getting through like all these situations and just evolving and like, working through the jealousy things. And
thank you. Yeah, I just, even when this last situation happened that had me really emotional, I had to take a step back and say, okay, back to the books, back to, start doing yoga. Like I realized, like, center yourself, like, surround yourself by just positiveness, because I will get sucked into that rejection and just focus on it instead of the good. And so the therapy that we did, couples therapy, the growth from just being able to talk to a therapist and talk things out, and it really helped with the growth as well. So yeah, I have to go back into this morning, I made a effort to just spend time with our son. Just like I put my phone down. I was like, I just want to watch him. I want to see him talk. I want to, interact with him, and just making a conscious effort to get positive reinforcement in other places. So I'm not always seeking it from humans or significant, not just humans, but
relationships.
Any human, yeah, dogs, humans. I don't know anybody that will love me, but no, but yes, you're right. Relationships is what I mean, from significant others, from people that I'm talking to and or who I have an interest in. Yeah, because that's So just trying to get away from that mindset and focus on the people that do love me. Mm-hmm.
You could get a cat. That would really test it. They don't give a shit about anybody.
I will never, ever again. My couch is still scratched up.
And they don't make you feel special. That's for damn sure.
Some cats do, but not many.
That's funny.
No, I appreciate you sharing all of that. That's hard. And I wanted to just maybe, before we move on, I'm not going to push anymore on the the first boyfriend thing. I was really just curious about if you were still together. But the thing I wanted to say was like all of the things that you've dubbed as mistakes, and yeah, there's mistakes, there's trust broken, but like the way that you two approach that is right. Like, how do we do it better in the future? Right. It's not like, Kacie, you're sitting there like, well, yeah, he should be at home taking care of our son while I'm out on a date. Like does that happen? Yes. But like, you also recognize that like there's a balance. And I think that's stuff that we don't know until we're in it and we're experiencing it. And then you're done with it. And then you're reflecting. You're like, oh boy, that was not the right way to do whatever the thing is. Mm-hmm. And so just being able to retroactively look at that and then move forward is hard, especially if there's trust broken along the way. Mm-hmm. Like that adds a new layer of rebuilding. Mm-hmm. So yeah, thank you for sharing everything you guys have so far. It's been awesome and really powerful.
Yeah, it has been. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying we've always had great communication. I think that like was kind of what also led us to another big part of us going to poly is like we've always talked about everything and we felt like we could have like open communication throughout no matter what. So yeah, just being able to like bring things up and talk through them and sort of both of us together come to like some sort of conclusion or like a path forward is huge.
But I think that's where some of the confusion came was that I was surprised at how scared I was to tell him. So we always had good communication, but when it came to opening up the marriage, it's like I almost was so scared to tell him mm-hmm. things because I didn't want to hurt him. And it just felt so awkward. And so it really surprised me at how much that I started not communicating, which led to,
And to be fair, it was like a pretty one-sided for that long period of time. Yeah. And so like I can take so much and then like my way of kind of protecting myself is to kind of distance myself. And I feel like she would notice that and feel that like me distancing myself. And then that's like a little small form of rejection, which she doesn't like. So maybe that like also kind of prompted her to maybe not be so forthright, and it was like this like thing that it was kind of snowballing and we weren't catching. But like, I feel like we've kind of corrected now.
But to comment, on what Finn just said, but so now we plan our dates when it's best for the family. So like later in the evening when our son's in bed, or if there's a day date, maybe during the week, take a day off from work because our son is in school, and so there's no time taken away from him. So you're right. We did really adjust to making sure we are spending ample time with him. And then the dates happen, after he goes to bed or, so we're not taking away time from him. So that is something we've adjusted during the journey. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying that too. And I also wanted to give you the chance. I know I had asked kind of a convoluted question of like, how have you seen each other grow? And both answered that. But I wanted to follow up too and see, Kacie, and give you an opportunity if you have anything that you would like to share about how you've seen Marcus grow. Because I think that I just wanted to make sure to give you that opportunity as well.
Sure. So with Marcus, he is constantly growing, and so I'm constantly watching him grow. But I think from I admire him because he is always listening to a podcast or always reading a book. Like he is always keeping his mind open and learning and then bringing those tools to our relationship. And so he's, I couldn't have asked for a better partner. I mean, I really tested him a lot in the beginning. And so his strength, is just amazing. I mean, I'm so lucky. And so, it's hard to say because he's just continually growing, to be honest. And now I see more confidence in him. I see him putting himself out there, which I know is extremely hard for him. He didn't date much growing up. So for him to be talking on the apps and talking to women and putting himself out there, I know how hard that is for him. So I'm super proud of him. So that's growth right there, because he's always found himself to be socially awkward. And so I just admire the courage that he has. And he also is dyslexic. And so for him to be writing, all dating is all text. And apps. Yeah. And so it's like it's like that's even a challenge for him. But I know he's wonderful and smart and intelligent, but to put yourself out there to other people I'm very proud of him in that growth sense, because I just know how difficult that is for him.
Yeah. It's helped my confidence immensely, just because in like our relationship, and the fact that like it was so one-sided, and I'm like, no, I'm still good enough. Like, I know I'm still doing all the right things. And to just know that, even though she's like super in NRE and like all about this other relationship in the moment, but to still have the confidence to be like, no, like I'm still great. That really helped my confidence and to put myself out there, because it is.
And you can see a difference between when he started and not getting many dates or, women, to now, and he does. And so I think just in that self, it shows growth. Obviously, he's doing something with more confidence now, and it shows because he's connecting with more women.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm over here nodding and nobody can see it.
I know, we always nod.
Like a bobblehead doll over here.
One question we often ask, because I'm curious too, is how open in your life with your friends and family are you about your poly and non-monogamous journey?
Not very.
Yeah. There's like a select number of friends that like both on her side and on my side know, and that's about it. And that's been really hard and kind of isolating in itself. And that's why like I was also trying to build community, is you would have people that you can talk to about all these things. It felt very lonely to just kind of sit in it and not have anybody to talk to about it.
I just feared disappointment. I mean, obviously, like a big part of me wants to tell our family and just have it out there. I do feel like it's a weight a little bit on our shoulders, but I'm scared.
We've just recently been talking about trying to start telling people, but this is a conversation we're kind of having right now, because I don't know. I feel like we're still fairly new, where it's still like we need to build a little more confidence there and
to say this is what we're doing,
like it or not,
I don't know. Does everybody need to know everyone's business?
Right. And I don't think we should just like announce it to the world, but definitely just start being more open with.
Yeah, don't go on a podcast and talk about it to the whole world. I highly, highly advise against that.
Well, and if that's how it comes out, that's how it comes out.
Yeah, and we did talk about that, like.
I know Marcus did say that. He was like, but I mean, at the end of the day, we are doing this. So it's if somebody found out or questioned us or called us on it,
we would be honest.
We just say, yes.
This is what we're doing.
A coworker of mine found out because that guy didn't see that she was still at the office and came by and decided to, show affection towards me. And then when he walked away, he was like, well, that was weird. And I go, well, my coworker was right there. So I ended up having to tell her. And she was really cool about it. She was like, oh yeah. So we worry so much, and then it ends up coming out and people could care less. But I think family might be a different story, because they're more invested in us and, as a couple, and that might scare them. I think that might scare them to know we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes sense. I mean, people that are closest to you tends to be the people that have the most concerns or worries. Yeah.
And I don't want them to worry about our marriage. I don't want them to worry that something could happen to our marriage if we were monogamous too. I mean, being non-monogamous doesn't mean we're exempt, or, exempt either way, monogamous, from getting divorced.
Right. Yep. That's an important clarification that can happen in any relationship.
Yeah.
Sort of back to you, Kacie, saying that, like, and actually both of you, like, when you do this, you are intense. It's sort of like I don't want to say all or nothing, but you said, like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And Kacie, you said, like, I get really intense and I have a hard time letting go. How does that mindset jive with casual hookups? Like, does that make that harder to where you tend to be drawn towards, like, a relationship? Or have you been able to, like, draw that line between them?
No, I'm still having a hard time with that. So, I'll meet someone, we'll talk. I'm a texter, and I mean, the guys are doing the same. They're texting back. It's not just me, one-sided. But like this last person that we had over, we were texting every day, and then he came over, we had a great night, and then the texting slowed down. We still text, but it slowed down. It's almost like you ramp up, right? And you're texting and you're filling each other out and you're getting to, and then we've already talked about seeing each other again, but I have a hard time, because I'm like, well, why were we texting? But then part of me is like, I don't have time for that. It's really confusing for me, because it's like, I want that attention and I want that, fun feeling of talking to somebody, but also, I have a life. And so, I have a hard time still with the balance of casual and what that means and what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with, because I want to be myself. I don't want to play the texting game, but I also understand it's casual. My heart says one thing and my mind says another. I'm like, okay, it's casual. And my heart's like, but talk to me, I'm still struggling with the casual.
And we haven't really talked about this, but I was kind of wondering the same thing. I kind of had that question that I was going to bring up in our casual. It's like, how is this going to work? Because you don't like to let go of people. So hookups, you have to let go.
Yeah. Like finding that balance of you, like if it's hard to let go and you want like that emotional, reinforcement and like attention that you get, it can be like a drug in a lot of ways. Like it can be hard to let go or hard to like in your like remind yourself, oh, this is casual, but hey, this feels really good, I want more of this. And finding that balance can be hard.
I think there's a like with the with my background of anxiety and having issues with depression, but also like I went through a stage where I had OCD, and OCD, like you hear about it, where you're checking doors and stuff. So there is a compulsive part of me that has to really I don't have it now. I got through that, luckily, fortunately, through therapy. But I think there is a part of me that like, if I get my mindset on something, like, then it's hard for me to like, what am I trying to say? Like
break that pattern,
like that focus. So it's like, okay, now I'm talking to somebody, and I almost think it kind of ties into that compulsive behavior in a sense of like, just
when the apps are like geared for that, right? For that, like, oh, someone else liked me, and like just getting that little
high of
yeah.
It's almost like they do it on purpose.
I don't know. Now that I say it about the maybe that's not even a.
But I get it. I mean, like when you're texting with someone and they send a message and you're just like,
we might take that part out because I don't even know if that made sense. But
it made perfect sense to somebody who
struggles with the same thing.
Who struggles with the exact same thing.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, did that make sense? It made sense to me, but putting it out there, I'm like, I don't know. I just have felt that in a sense of when I start talking to somebody, it's like that person almost becomes just, a focus. And I do, see the text come up on my phone, and it excites me. And so then if it's like building and then it just drops, I'm like, where's my focus now? Like, what is happening? And then all those fears of like, I have to keep my mind busy. I think that's part of the problem. I have to keep my mind busy, and I think I can do casual if I could learn how to if I can learn to sit in silence and not constantly need something going around me or happening. Like, we just tore up our spare bedroom just because I was like, I need something to do. Let's redo this room. So I think casual almost comes with just being able to just sit with your thoughts and not be constantly doing something.
Well, yeah, growing in the self-control aspect, right? Because like I've always had like pretty good self-control. But yeah, like I'll get that a little bit where I'm like, ooh, like let's check to see if anybody liked me or whatever. And I'm like, oh, look at you wanting that little hit, and like it'll ramp up, and then I'll check myself and having to control myself and bring it back down and be like, no, like don't check it, So yeah, that's another point to
casual's
grow.
right up your alley.
Oh,
You're super casual. He'll go a week. He'll be talking to someone, go a week and not worry about it. Where I'm like, you haven't talked to her in a week, and he's like, that's just how it is. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like, we're so different. We're just so different in that sense. Like, he'll have his phones in another room half the time. I mean, it's he can do casual just fine.
Isn't it so interesting how like different personalities handle that type of thing very differently? And then when you're in a relationship with someone like there's an opposite in a lot of ways, it's hard to like, you're trying to understand and sympathize with the other person, but you're like, hang on, I handle it this way. It just gets into so many complexities in relationships in general.
And when we're going to each other for advice, it's like, our advice is terrible for each other because we're so like,
we're complete opposites. For us, it works because we like fill in each other's weak point. But yeah, like for advice.
Like today when that guy texted, I haven't talked to him in a week, I told Marcus, I was like, what do I do? What do I say? And he's like, well, I could tell you how to play the game, or I could tell you how you could just be yourself. And I'm like, whoa.
I was gonna interject my advice, and it was exactly what Marcus said, which is you just have to do you, because otherwise this other guy's basically talking to Marcus, and he's not then interacting with you.
Exactly. Yeah, he might as well date Marcus, because I know he was going to tell me, well, wait a couple days and text him, and I'm like, but that's not what I want. Like, that's I mean, I almost want to write him and just say, what are we doing? Like, this is ridiculous. But, obviously that's not the game. But
then don't play the game.
Right.
I know. But yeah, we're just terrible at giving each other advice. Cause I mean, when the thing happened with the guy who texted today, when it first happened and I was like emotional and crying, and he's like, well, he has to know you're not crazy. And I was like, that's the worst thing you can just say to me right now. He's like, he thinks you're crazy right now, so just back off a little bit. And I was like, because I was crying. like, what? And I told one of my poly friends, and she was like, that was not helpful, Marcus. And I was like, I know. So yeah, we're not good at giving advice.
I'm very literal, so I'm just like, this is what he's probably thinking. So like, if you want to fix it, I can probably tell you how to fix it. But
yeah, when he had his, last few dates with the girl, like the first one, I got her flowers from the farmer's market, and so he brought her flowers, and then you had told her they were from me, and she loved that. And then the second date, I was like, oh, take my car, because my car is a little better than his car. And so he took my car and cleaned it, and then they had a nice date. And then I felt like I was trying to help him, and then I made her a video because she was a little hesitant to
she's not
he's
really
married, and so she made a comment, well, what if you're cheating? And so he had told me that, and so I just made a real quick video for her saying, like, this is what we're doing, like, it's okay, like, and so I'm trying to be a good wing woman, but then he calls me crazy.
Oh my goodness. I'm not, I don't think you're crazy. I just was trying.
I know.
Yeah. I was thinking that
I'm just teasing you.
Yeah. Sorry for calling you crazy.
I probably was a little that night.
We all have our crazy moments, whatever that, it's called being human.
It's also called, we've not ever really done this before, so we're just figuring it out as we go along.
Yep, exactly.
So I think we could probably talk for another hour easily. Yes. And so maybe we do a part 2 at some point, because I think there's still, like, you two have shared a lot of super vulnerable things. And like you said, Kacie, like, well, that didn't make any sense. It made sense to somebody. And I think what you two have gone through has resonated with probably a lot of different people. And I hope we can continue that conversation. That's my personal thoughts on it.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing everything you did. And I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to share anything else that you would like as well. I know,
knowing that we might get a part 2.
Yeah, we could keep talking.
But is there anything we don't want to just cut you off and be like, well, you're done, you're out of here?
No, I think we've said a lot today. I think we're okay. We'll let everyone digest everything we have said.
And everyone can know that you'll be back on. We'll call that the second date, because this was the first date.
Yeah, that'll be the second date.
If you'll have us, I don't like rejection. So.
You guys are now intertwined in our lives forever and ever.
Never let you go. No,
Kacie will never let you go.
Well, I guess we signed up for it.
I guess so.
Podcast host.
I guess so.
Well, then with that, we can let you have a wonderful afternoon. Yes. And we will do it again soon.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Kacie and Marcus, for being vulnerable and emotional with us and open with us. And we really loved our conversation and just are incredibly grateful for each one of you.
Also, I'm going to take a moment here to brag about something.
Go for it.
So Kacie mentioned that she made a video for one of the partners that Marcus was going on a date with, because the woman was a little nervous about it.
You mean that she was there? Yeah.
Right. Well, she made the video to say it's all is good, right?
Right.
So close super fans of this show will know that we actually sent this suggestion into Dan Savage via, I believe, a tweet.
I think so, a couple years ago.
So for people in Don't Ask, Don't Tell relationships who are like, how do you let your new partner know that your existing partner or your Don't Ask, Don't Tell partner is okay with this? And I was like, well, make a video that you can play for them. And I thought it was a great idea. Dan thought it was a great idea.
Yeah.
And hell, Kacie thought it was a good idea.
We're going to have to go find that episode of Savage Lovecast that we were on.
Yeah, you go for it. Nobody can prove this didn't happen. All right, enough bragging. You're welcome, everybody, for that insightful information. And thank you, Kacie and Marcus, again, as Emma said.
Yeah. Before we let you go, we do want to do a quick shout out for stdcheck.com. As you're getting out there and meeting new people, or actually any people, not just new people, as you're meeting people and getting to know people and spending time with people, we highly encourage you. Go ahead, interrupt me.
Well, I mean, spending time means having sex.
Oh, sure. Yep.
As you're hooking up with people, it is a great idea to get tested for STIs. Emma, how do we get tested for STIs?
I am nailing this.
You're crushing it. You don't give up this far in. Keep going.
We love stdcheck.com. It is simple and easy to use. It's discreet, and we highly encourage you to go check it out. You get a $10 discount by using the links on our webpage, as well as support the show when you do. So go check it out.
And get tested and be an awesome advocate for sexual health in the non-monogamous community.
Yes.
And tell all of your new and existing partners that Emma and Finn sent to you.
Yes. And sorry, I kind of botched this.
No, not even a little bit. We're only on episode 200.
Right. I should be a pro by now.
By 300, we'll have this down pat.
Yeah, totally.
I thought it was fantastic.
Go check out stdcheck.com through our website.
Use the links on our website to save $10 and support the show.
normalizingnonmonogamy.com/test.
Yep, or click on the resources tab or show notes or all the many different places.
There's so many ways.
It's 200 episodes in. You know how to find us.
Yes.
All right, next week we have an interview.
Surprise, surprise. We're not just changing our format on episode 201.
201.
We're not, actually. I had to clarify that.
Yeah, you definitely did. World's longest outro.
Crystal and Rich are coming on the show next week, so stay tuned. Come back.
To talk about cuckolding.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, sure.
All right, sure. Folks, I think we're losing Emma.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.